All right, next up we have U.S. Department of Interior, Office of Wildland Fire. Joe Majewski has been serving as the acting director for the U.S. Department of Interior, Office of Wildland Fire since March 2025, and he has served as deputy director of OWF since July of 2024. He has over 24 years of experience working in wildland fire management with the Office of Wildland Fire, Bureau of Land Management, and the National Park Service. In those years, he spent time as a wildland firefighter working on hand crews, engines, and helitac, plus various other roles in wildland fire management, including the BLM's division chief for wildland fire budget and evaluation at the National Interagency Fire Center. He attended the University of Arizona and University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and holds a bachelor's degree in economics and a certificate in biological sciences.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Super excited to be here this morning. Before I get into my update, I just wanted to give a quick thank you to the hosts, CKST, not just for the business operations here, but also for all the community events and the field day. I really took a lot away from that and really appreciate being included in those, so thank you to that. Also want to give thanks to ITC for the invitation here today to be part of this symposium. I'm sincerely humbled and honored to be here and be in a position where I can participate in an event like this. Last night when I was thinking about the last couple days, as the moderator mentioned, I've been in wildland fire management for almost 25 years. Been to a lot of places, as we all have. If you're in that career field, seen a lot of places. A, this is some beautiful country, but B, I definitely realized that I'm taking away more from this event that I think that you're going to get from my update here. So I just wanted to share that. And I definitely recognize that going into this. I know I only have 20 minutes and Cody went long, so I'll get going. So since the last ITC symposium or even the last ITC board meeting, there's been significant staffing changes at the Office of Wildland Fire. We're a smaller office of typically we've 38 full-time positions normally. Like I said, we're at the interior level, Office of Secretary. We provide policy, budget, and coordination for the interior fire bureaus, which includes not only BIA, but also BLM, National Park Service, and Fish and Wildlife Service. But the point I'm making here, so we had the most notable change we had is our long-standing director, Jeff Rupert, who you've probably seen here for the last 7-8 years. He retired. And now I'm the acting director, so that's why I'm here. But also we had a wave of actually 14 retirements in Office of Wildland Fire, so we're operating at roughly 60% what we normally do. But with that, I'll say we're still functioning at a high level, and we are still certainly committed to building on this relationship here with not only ITC but also tribal nations and native corporations. Wanted to give just a quick update on kind of where we are in fire readiness within the interior. I'm not going to go into the numbers here, but I think the main points I want to make here is bottom line, going into this fire season, we have comparable or the same amount of operational resources going into this season that we had last year. And what I mean by that is we'll have the same amount of engines, hotshot crews, aviation, et cetera. So those items are staffed as they were last year. I also want to mention that the Secretary of Interior issued a blanket hiring freeze waiver for public safety positions, which included wildland fire management positions. So we've largely been able to continue hiring as we normally would during this kind of spring season, where we do most of our hiring for the season. As probably a lot of you know, that we are about 2/3 of a seasonal workforce of permanent seasonals and temporary seasonals. There's there has been the DRP, the Deferred Retirement Program, that has impacted the interior and the fire bureaus. But looking at kind of doing the back of the napkin, you know, kind of analysis look at the information that I do have, it's not a huge impact to the Wildland Fire operation. There will be some, I guess, employees that have supported fire outside of the fire program in the past that may not be available this year as they've retired. But like I said, it's not an overwhelming impact. And then you all can correct me if I'm wrong here, but all the indications that we are seeing is that also tribal wildland fire management resources will be staffed at a similar level as last year as well. One more piece on kind of readiness. I don't know, it's probably been, you've seen some information in the media outlets about kind of broad federal government restrictions on charge cards, travel, contract approval. And I can tell you, at least from the Wildland Fire Management Program within the interior, we've been able to either get exemptions or work through kind of any of those pieces that would affect any kind of incident response. So this year, if you're in the fire program, you still have your travel card. Purchase cards have been, limits have been increased so that we can continue kind of operating as we have in the past. I know a lot of our firefighting crews and support are self-sufficient when we're out in these kind of remote areas fighting fire. So we've worked through to continue, make sure we had that going on. Also want to mention we've had the Wildland, a lot of contracts, and all of the experiences I've seen is that any contracts to deal with wildland fire management have been reviewed and approved in pretty quick order. I also want to mention that there's also some questions maybe on where we were with our AD hiring. You know, when we do have our full authority to do ADs as we normally would in any previous year. I definitely wanted to mention that. Kind of to reinforce the priority for this administration and for Secretary of Interior on wildland fire management, he issued another Secretary memo on May 30th, so last Thursday. I'm not going to go into the details there, but the primary gist of that memo was laying down his expectation to support wildland fires throughout the summer and during his tenure. So that was directed at Interior employees, the fire bureaus, so that we're in PL 3, 4, 5, that people that can help and engage in fire support, firefighting, that they'll be available to do that this year. Cody talked a little bit about the budget on kind of a broader scale. So just speaking specifically about wildland fire management within the Department of Interior, there's not a lot to unpack here. You'll see that we had a moderate increase from 24 to 25, and that was largely due to fully fund our wildland fire pay reform, which, as Cody mentioned, it has funding in there for tribal pay in base funding, not only for the federal firefighting forces as well. Like I said, not a lot to unpack here. I think for the most simplistic view of it, the net effect here in our 25 budget is essentially flat for wildland fire management, since the increase was mainly earmarked for pay reform. And I'll also mention that the suppression funds that we normally receive every year, we have those as well. So we have our normal appropriated, in our normal account, our suppression funds, $383 million. We also have our suppression reserve funds that was fully funded this year as well. So I think we have that intact. So it's been alluded to a few times throughout this symposium, but I will mention that in the skinny budget, and there's also been a budget in brief that was released this week that has some more information on this proposal. But before I get into the little bit of detail that I do know, just want to preface that this is a proposal. This is part of the federal government's formal budget process where this request is being put into place. So if you're not familiar, every year the administration or the president puts together a funding request for Congress to act or not act on. And this proposal is in that request for FY '26. What's in that proposal is to create a wildland fire-specific bureau within the Department of Interior, which would not only combine the fire agencies for BIA, BLM, National Park Service, Fish and Wildlife Service, but also the fire program within Forest Service, USDA Forest Service. I will say also that it's intended to include all of the normal activities that you normally associate with wildland fire management. So that would be preparedness, fuels management, suppression, bar, all the normal accounts that you're used to dealing with for fire activities. So like I said, I don't have much more detail than that. You can look up the budget in brief that I believe was released Monday, that there is a little bit more information in there. And then the secretary, I believe, he testified in the Appropriations Committee already. He talked a little bit about that there. And the secretary is also scheduled, I think, next week with the authorizing committees. And this might be a topic that gets brought up. So if you have more interest there, I'd encourage you to watch those. So Cody already talked about this a little bit, so try to be a little bit redundant here, but I will stress that. So in the March full year appropriation, it provided authorization and funding for federal wildland firefighters, and it provided base funding for tribal firefighters to do this pay in a comparable way as it will be implemented for the federal workforce. And one thing I wanted to say, so that's essentially a special base rate table is how it's being implemented for federal wildland firefighters. And then that incident response premium pay, which is for all responders, not just firefighters. So anybody who goes to a qualifying incident, not getting into all the details, but the rules are essentially if you're assigned outside your local unit, then you'd be eligible if you're on a qualifying incident. So that's where we are. I don't want to get ahead of Aaron here, but I think the plan is that for 25, the rest of 25, the same process that you've had in the last 2 years for tribal firefighters would stay intact and look for a way to do permanent change for posterity in 26. And I think the piece I'll say here is at working for OWF, we're committed to support Aaron and BIA to implement that and to work through any kind of challenges that they may be there. So that certainly committed to. So I probably went fast to get us back on schedule, and then I think there'll be opportunity for questions after or now. At the end, okay. But again, super, like I said, humbled, honored to be here. I know actions speak louder than words, so if I'm not meeting the mark anywhere, let Cody know, and he can let me know. So I appreciate that. So thank you.